There are moments in life when we encounter individuals whose abilities defy all conventional understanding. Edgar Cayce was one of those rare figures, someone whose insights into the future not only captivated but perplexed the world. Known as the Sleeping Prophet, Cayce had the extraordinary ability to tap into hidden knowledge while in a deep, trance-like sleep. In these altered states, his mind seemed to transcend time and space, unlocking visions of future events, unexplainable phenomena, and truths that few could fathom. Born in 1877 in Hopkinsville, Kentucky, Cayce's life was marked by the mystique of his gift. His story began innocently enough, with a childhood marked by illness and the development of what seemed like strange dreams and intuitive insights. It wasn't until later in life, however, that Cayce's extraordinary abilities would truly come to light. When he was a young man, struggling to support his family, he found himself in the office of a chiropractor, seeking help for a throat ailment. But what followed was far more profound than anyone could have predicted. In a trance, Cayce began to offer detailed medical readings for the chiropractor's patients, prescribing remedies and diagnosing ailments with an accuracy that stunned everyone in the room. This was just the beginning. Over the course of his lifetime, Cayce gave over 14,000 documented readings, each one offering insights into a vast range of subjects, from health and wellness to spirituality, history, and even prophecies about the future. Cayce did not claim to be a healer or a mystic in the traditional sense. Instead, he referred to himself as a mere vessel, a conduit through which universal knowledge flowed. He was often described as humble and unassuming, yet what he revealed during his trance sessions would change the way we understood the world and the universe itself. One of his most remarkable prophecies revolved around a subject that many might dismiss as trivial: dogs. At the time, few could have imagined that these creatures, so commonly regarded as loyal pets, would one day play a role so profound in the spiritual awakening of humanity. But this was exactly what Cayce foresaw. In 1943, during a session that would later be documented, he spoke of dogs in a way no one had ever considered before. According to Cayce, dogs were not just simple animals. They were destined to play a vital role in humanity's spiritual evolution. He described them as four-legged guardians who would awaken when the earth entered a new vibrational frequency. Dogs, he said, would become conscious bridges between the physical and spiritual worlds, guardians of unconditional love and natural spiritual antennas. These animals, according to Cayce, would possess abilities that humans had lost over centuries, abilities that would be reactivated at a crucial moment in history. And what was this moment? Cayce was clear. This transformation would begin as humanity faced major global challenges: pandemics, climate change, accelerating technological changes, and, most importantly, a massive spiritual awakening. At the time, this prophecy was startling, even absurd. Dogs, spiritual guides? Animals capable of connecting with the unseen energies of the world? In the 1940s, when World War II was raging and most people were focused on survival and conflict, it seemed a strange notion at best. But Cayce wasn't simply talking about any distant, abstract future. His prophecy wasn't just a vague vision of someday. He was speaking about a time that was very much on the horizon. In fact, Cayce's reading suggested that the signs would begin to appear when humanity was at its most vulnerable, when the collective consciousness of the world was being stretched and tested in ways never before imagined. The most remarkable thing about Cayce's vision is not just that he predicted the rise of canine spiritual awakening, but that he described it with incredible precision. According to Cayce, the first signs of this awakening would become apparent when humanity was deeply challenged by global crises. These challenges, Cayce predicted, would serve as the catalyst for both human and animal evolution. He foretold that dogs would undergo a three-phase transformation, each one bringing them closer to their ultimate spiritual purpose. In the first wave, dogs would develop an ability to detect diseases, something that, at the time, seemed nothing short of miraculous. They would be able to sense illnesses in their owners and in others, long before doctors or medical professionals could identify them. At first, it would appear to be nothing more than a heightened sense of smell or intuition. But Cayce saw much more. These animals, he believed, would be tapping into energies, subtle vibrations in the body that humans had forgotten how to perceive. In the second wave, things would escalate even further. Cayce saw dogs becoming able to communicate telepathically with their owners. They wouldn't just sense emotions, they would understand thoughts. They would respond to their owner's needs before a word was even spoken. The bond between human and dog would deepen, transcending mere companionship. It would become a profound, telepathic connection, a silent conversation between souls. But it was the third wave of the prophecy that would be the most powerful. In this final stage, dogs would become true energy cleansers. They would have the ability to neutralize negative energies in the home, at hospitals, or even within people themselves. This would not just be emotional support, it would be a spiritual healing. Dogs would become powerful agents of transformation, capable of clearing away the heavy energies of grief, anxiety, and trauma with their mere presence. In one of his most vivid readings, Cayce described the moment when dogs would awaken to their true purpose. He saw a world where humanity, faced with its greatest challenges, would begin to recognize the extraordinary potential of these animals. No longer would dogs simply be companions. They would be partners, spiritual partners in the elevation of human consciousness. As technology, such as the internet, connected people across the globe, Cayce predicted that dogs would also begin to awaken. They would no longer be mere pets. They would be conscious collaborators in the transformation of human awareness. What makes Cayce's prophecy even more fascinating is that he described how these awakened dogs would arrive in families during this period of spiritual awakening. Many of the dogs would not simply be regular animals, he said. They would be evolved souls, beings of light who had chosen to incarnate as dogs in order to assist humanity's spiritual journey. These dogs would not just be random animals. They would be souls on a mission, sent to guide and support the human family through the next stage of its evolution. The idea of dogs as spiritual beings is nothing short of extraordinary, especially when placed against the backdrop of the time when Cayce made these predictions. In the early 20th century, dogs were largely viewed through the lens of practicality. They were hunting companions, farm animals, and loyal pets. The notion of dogs as agents of spiritual healing, telepathic communication, or even energy transmutation was a concept far beyond the reach of scientific understanding. Yet, Cayce spoke of this awakening with an unmistakable certainty, as though he could see it unfolding just beyond the veil of time. It is this profound vision that makes Edgar Cayce's prophecy about dogs so captivating and so relevant today. As we stand at the threshold of a new era, marked by unprecedented global challenges and a collective spiritual awakening, Cayce's words seem to be resonating more than ever. Could it be that the dogs we share our homes with are, in fact, playing a far greater role in our lives than we ever imagined? Could it be that they are awakening to their true purpose, just as Cayce predicted? As we dive deeper into this prophecy, we will explore how these remarkable changes are already beginning to unfold around us. The evidence is emerging, slowly but surely, that Cayce's vision is not just a myth or a distant dream. It is a reality taking shape right before our eyes. When Edgar Cayce spoke of dogs as spiritual guides, he wasn't merely referring to the typical image we have of them as loyal companions or protectors. No, Cayce envisioned something far more profound. He described these animals as four-legged guardians, creatures capable of bridging the gap between the physical and spiritual realms. He saw them as conscious, awakened beings with a higher purpose, guardians of unconditional love, connected to energies and vibrations that human beings had lost touch with over time. Dogs, in Cayce's vision, were not ordinary pets. They were, in fact, deeply spiritual entities with a mission to guide humanity through a transformative process. To understand the gravity of this, let's consider how radically different this view is from our conventional understanding of dogs. Historically, dogs were seen as protectors, hunters, and companions, beings to aid us in practical ways. They were trained to herd livestock, guard homes, or serve as service animals. We saw their worth in functional terms, as helpers in daily life. But Cayce's vision was far grander. He saw these animals not just as functional companions, but as spiritual beings with the ability to sense and respond to the energies around them. In Cayce's readings, dogs were described as natural spiritual antennas, sensitive to frequencies and vibrations that humans couldn't perceive. They were attuned to a higher order, able to detect subtle energies in the environment and within individuals. It was as though they were living, breathing instruments designed to pick up on the unseen world, energies that we as humans had long since forgotten how to read. In the 1940s, when Cayce shared these insights, it must have sounded far-fetched, even fantastical. But now, as we face unprecedented challenges, these very qualities that Cayce predicted are starting to manifest. Cayce's prophecy took on even more depth when he described how dogs would awaken spiritually in 3 distinct waves. The first wave, he said, would involve dogs' ability to detect illnesses in their owners long before traditional medical tests could confirm the conditions. Imagine that, a dog sensing an illness, such as cancer, long before a doctor could detect it. This wasn't just a heightened sense of smell. It was a deeper, intuitive knowing. Cayce believed that these animals would tap into energies, frequencies, and vibrations that go unnoticed by human senses, and that their abilities would be activated at a time when the world needed them most. When Cayce predicted this, it was before we understood much about the invisible energy fields that surround us. He couldn't have known about the incredible advancements in medical science that would one day lead us to understand the human body's subtle energy fields. Nor could he have known about the growing awareness of the mind-body connection and the emerging field of energy healing. Yet, the ability of dogs to sense illness before it becomes physically apparent is exactly what we're witnessing today. Reports have emerged from around the world of dogs detecting cancer, diabetes, and even seizures before they occur. These aren't isolated incidents. They are part of a growing body of evidence that supports Cayce's vision. One well-documented case involved a golden retriever named Buddy, who was able to detect skin cancer on his owner, Marilyn, long before she had any symptoms. Marilyn, puzzled by Buddy's incessant licking of a particular spot on her skin, eventually had it checked by a doctor. It turned out to be melanoma, which had gone undetected by medical professionals. Buddy's actions, although seemingly random, were an instinctive response to a deeper spiritual and energetic connection with his owner. These types of stories are becoming more and more common. In fact, researchers have begun to explore how dogs can be trained to detect various diseases, from low blood sugar in diabetic patients to specific types of cancer. It's as if these animals are becoming attuned to a higher frequency, one that allows them to detect shifts in energy and health. Cayce saw this as the first wave of canine evolution, the moment when dogs began to use their natural sensitivity to help humanity in a way no one could have imagined at the time. But this was only the beginning. Cayce's second wave of canine evolution was even more remarkable. He foresaw that dogs would develop the ability to communicate telepathically with their owners. Imagine a world where you didn't need to speak to your dog to convey your thoughts or emotions, where your dog could respond to your needs without a word being uttered. Cayce believed that this telepathic connection would be one of the defining features of the dog's awakening. The idea of telepathy between humans and animals may seem like science fiction, but more and more people are reporting experiences that seem to suggest it's happening. Have you ever had the feeling that your dog just knows when you're upset or anxious, even if you haven't said a word? Or perhaps you've noticed that your dog reacts in ways that seem to be linked to your own thoughts or emotions. Many pet owners have observed what could only be described as a deep, intuitive connection with their animals. It's as though their dogs can sense what they need, even when they're trying to hide it. Take, for example, the story of Sarah and her dog. Max. Sarah, a woman who had gone through a difficult breakup, noticed that Max, her Labrador, started acting differently around her. He would sit by her side during moments of sadness, offering comfort when she felt at her lowest. On one occasion, Sarah found herself struggling to get out of bed after a particularly difficult day. She didn't say anything, but Max curled up next to her, nudging her gently. It was as though he understood exactly what she needed at that moment. And then there's the story of Jack, who found that his dog, Daisy, would often look at him with such intensity when he was feeling anxious. It wasn't just a look of concern. It was as if Daisy could feel the anxiety before Jack was even aware of it himself. While these experiences may sound anecdotal, they are part of a growing number of reports from pet owners who feel they share a bond with their dogs that goes beyond the physical. There's a sense that these animals are not just reacting to external cues, but are somehow aware of their owner's internal states. Could it be that Cayce was right? Could dogs be picking up on our thoughts, emotions, and even our physical needs through telepathic communication? Cayce's third wave, however, took the concept of dogs as spiritual beings to an entirely new level. He predicted that dogs would become energy cleansers, beings capable of neutralizing negative energies and facilitating emotional healing. According to Cayce, these animals would act as powerful catalysts in human transformation, absorbing negative energies and transmuting them into healing forces. This wasn't just about emotional support. It was about deep, energetic healing that could change the very fabric of the environment around us. Many people who work with dogs in therapeutic settings report that animals, particularly dogs, have an incredible ability to pick up on the emotional state of their owners. But what's even more fascinating is the increasing number of stories that suggest dogs are actively participating in the healing process. Dogs seem to sense when a room or a person is filled with heavy, negative energy. There are countless reports of dogs acting as if they were cleansing an area, walking in circles, or sitting in specific spots where energy feels stuck. They are acting as healers without being trained to do so, in ways that go far beyond mere instinct. Cayce foresaw that these abilities would become especially important as humanity entered a new phase of spiritual awakening. As the world faced its greatest challenges, pandemics, technological disruptions, and an acceleration of collective consciousness, dogs would step into a new role, that of energetic protectors, healers, and guides. For many of us, it may still be difficult to see our dogs as anything other than companions or pets. But if Cayce's prophecy is true, then we may be on the brink of a spiritual revelation about these incredible animals. As we begin to recognize the extraordinary abilities our dogs are displaying, we may come to understand that they're not just here to provide companionship. They are here to guide us, heal us, and help us navigate a rapidly changing world. As we continue to delve into the fascinating prophecy Edgar Cayce laid out, we arrive at the first wave of canine evolution. This wave, which he foresaw would coincide with humanity's increasing spiritual awakening, is perhaps the most astonishing. Dogs, according to Cayce, would develop the ability to detect diseases and predict events before they occurred. At a time when the idea of animals possessing such advanced abilities seemed entirely out of reach, Cayce's prediction about dogs acting as intuitive beings capable of sensing health issues or impending danger was nothing short of revolutionary. Fast forward to today, and the scientific and anecdotal evidence of dogs performing these feats is growing at an astounding rate. For years, we've known that dogs have an exceptional sense of smell, far beyond our own. A dog's nose is capable of detecting scents at incredibly low concentrations, a fact that has already made them indispensable in fields like search and rescue and bomb detection. But Cayce's prophecy wasn't simply about a dog's ability to sniff out something tangible. It was about their ability to sense something intangible, something that transcended the physical world, like the internal vibrations of a human body or even the unseen energies of the environment. The first signs of this incredible capability have been emerging in a range of startling real-world examples. Medical professionals have been documenting cases where dogs appear to detect conditions such as cancer, diabetes, and even seizures before they are clinically diagnosed. One particularly well-known case involves a golden retriever named Marley, who seemingly knew that her owner, Sarah, had breast cancer, long before Sarah even had symptoms. Marley had always been a calm, well-behaved dog, but one day, she began to act out in a strange and seemingly unprovoked way. She kept sniffing Sarah's chest and would not stop licking a particular spot over her breast. Initially, Sarah thought it was just a quirky behavior, but as the days went on, Marley's persistent actions led Sarah to check the area. To her shock, she found a lump that had been missed in her routine self-exams. At first, it seemed like coincidence, but when Sarah had the lump examined, it was confirmed to be cancer, and it had been growing undetected for months. What makes this story so compelling is that Marley's actions were not a simple case of sniffing around for food or attention. It was as if she sensed the subtle energy shifts in Sarah's body, picking up on something that had not yet manifested in a physical form. This phenomenon is not isolated. Researchers and veterinarians around the world have been reporting similar stories of dogs detecting medical conditions with remarkable accuracy. Some dogs have been shown to alert their owners to the presence of tumors, while others have been able to detect when their owners' blood sugar levels drop to dangerous levels. The medical community is now beginning to explore the possibility of using dogs in diagnostic settings, particularly for conditions like cancer, where early detection can significantly improve treatment outcomes. But the abilities go beyond just health detection. The second aspect of Cayce's first wave involved dogs predicting events before they happened. He foresaw that dogs would become so finely attuned to their environment and to the energy of the people around them that they would be able to sense shifts in circumstances, sometimes with eerie precision. This could involve sensing when their owners were about to have an emotional breakdown or even predicting a life-changing event, such as a marriage, job loss, or personal crisis. Cayce's vision suggested that dogs would act as guides, anticipating changes before their humans could consciously recognize them. In 2011, a story emerged about a dog named Hachiko who demonstrated the second part of Cayce's prophecy in a deeply profound way. Hachiko, an Akita dog, was famous for his unwavering loyalty to his owner, Hidesaburo Ueno, a professor at the University of Tokyo. Every day, Hachiko would wait for Ueno at the Shibuya train station to return from work. Tragically, Ueno passed away unexpectedly, and he never came home to his faithful dog. However, Hachiko continued to wait for his owner at the same time, every day, for nearly 10 years after Ueno's death. This remarkable act of loyalty has become a symbol of devotion, but what makes it even more extraordinary is the way Hachiko's actions seem to transcend simple animal instinct. It was as though Hachiko intuitively knew the depth of the loss and was mourning not just for Ueno, but for the bond they had shared. His behavior went beyond habit. It became a demonstration of deep emotional understanding and awareness. More recently, cases have surfaced of dogs acting in ways that suggest they can sense moments of imminent change. Take, for example, a story from New Jersey, where a dog named Charlie began to act out in strange ways before his owner, Emily, lost her job. For weeks leading up to the layoff, Charlie had been more affectionate than usual, following Emily around the house, refusing to leave her side. Emily, caught up in the stress of her job, didn't think much of it. But when the layoff came, Emily was astounded to realize that Charlie had been picking up on the impending change before she had even processed it herself. It was as if he had sensed the shift in her energy, responding to the subtle cues she wasn't yet aware of. Charlie, in his way, had been preparing her emotionally for the shock of the news. This type of predictive behavior has also been observed in dogs during natural disasters. In 2010, for example, a dog named Max was reported to have acted strangely several hours before the devastating earthquake in Haiti. He was restless, barking incessantly, and trying to climb onto the roof of his owner's house. Max's owner, who had never seen this behavior before, thought it was a sign of anxiety. But when the earthquake hit, he realized that Max had been reacting to something that was yet to come, a shift in the Earth's energy that the dog had detected long before anyone else could sense it. The ability to predict future events, especially those that are both physical and emotional in nature, is part of the larger transformation that Cayce predicted. These aren't just coincidences. They are the unfolding of the first wave of canine evolution, as predicted in the 1940s. But what makes these abilities even more fascinating is the idea that dogs are tapping into a deeper understanding of the world, one that humans are only beginning to grasp. Scientists have started to study this phenomenon in greater detail, particularly in relation to dogs' heightened sensitivity to human emotions. One of the most intriguing studies comes from the University of Lincoln, where researchers found that dogs are capable of distinguishing between different human emotions based on facial expressions alone. Not only can they detect happiness, sadness, and anger, but they can also react to these emotions in ways that suggest they understand the underlying feelings behind the expressions. This kind of emotional awareness is something that goes beyond simple training or instinct. It suggests a deeper, more intuitive connection between dogs and humans, one that is slowly awakening as Cayce predicted. As the first wave of this canine evolution unfolds, it becomes clear that dogs are no longer just companions. They're becoming conscious collaborators in our journey toward greater understanding, healing, and transformation. These animals, once regarded as loyal pets, are now being recognized for the extraordinary abilities they possess, abilities that go beyond physical traits and into the realm of the spiritual and metaphysical. Cayce foresaw that this shift would not happen overnight. It would take time for humanity to fully realize and accept the spiritual roles that dogs are playing in our lives. But as more and more stories emerge, stories of dogs detecting diseases, predicting events, and offering emotional support in ways that science can't yet explain, the prophecy that Cayce laid out is becoming undeniably real. As the world continues to experience rapid shifts in consciousness and energy, the second wave of Edgar Cayce's prophecy about dogs is becoming more and more evident. This wave, which Cayce predicted would involve dogs establishing telepathic communication with their human companions, goes beyond the first signs of disease detection and intuitive behavior. In this phase, dogs would transcend the typical boundaries of animal-human interaction, forming a bond with their owners that isn't limited to physical touch or vocalization. Instead, Cayce foresaw that dogs would become capable of directly perceiving and responding to human thoughts and emotions without the need for words. The idea of telepathy between species might sound fantastical to some, but when we consider the growing body of evidence supporting this extraordinary phenomenon, it becomes increasingly difficult to dismiss. Many dog owners report experiences that suggest their pets are attuned to their emotions, often responding to their moods and needs without any outward cues. These reports are not isolated or anecdotal. They form part of a broader, emerging understanding of the deep connection that exists between humans and their canine companions. Take, for instance, the case of a woman named Laura from California. For years, her dog, Rocky, had been by her side through thick and thin. But it wasn't until one particularly difficult period in her life that Laura began to notice something strange. Rocky, a typically energetic and playful Labrador, started behaving in ways that defied logic. Whenever Laura would feel overwhelmed, whether from stress at work or emotional exhaustion from personal challenges, Rocky would immediately sit next to her, rest his head on her lap, and gaze at her with what she described as a knowing look, almost as if he understood exactly what she was going through. At first, Laura thought it was merely a comforting gesture, a sign that Rocky wanted to be close. But as time went on, she began to realize that his behavior wasn't just coincidental. Rocky seemed to show up at the exact moments when Laura needed emotional support the most, even before she consciously knew she needed it. It wasn't just emotional support either. During moments when Laura would feel physically drained, like after a long day of work, Rocky's behavior would shift. He would approach her and lay his body across her legs, offering what seemed like a calming presence. It was as though Rocky instinctively knew when Laura needed comfort, not just emotionally, but also physically. Over time, Laura began to see this as something beyond typical pet behavior. Rocky was responding to her needs in ways that seemed to transcend normal animal instinct. It was as if he was somehow picking up on signals that she hadn't even consciously processed yet. These experiences aren't unique to Laura and Rocky. Thousands of dog owners around the world have shared similar stories. Whether it's a dog sensing their owner's anxiety before they even realize it, or a dog anticipating an emotional crisis before it happens, there's a growing awareness that our dogs may be more connected to our thoughts and feelings than we ever imagined. These subtle but powerful experiences align with Cayce's vision that dogs would develop the ability to communicate telepathically with their owners, responding to thoughts, emotions, and even unspoken desires. One particularly compelling example of this telepathic connection comes from a study conducted by researchers at Duke University. The study focused on how dogs react to their owners' emotional states. Using a combination of behavioral observation and brain scans, the researchers discovered that dogs could recognize emotional cues from their owners with remarkable accuracy, even when those cues were not immediately apparent. This research supports Cayce's vision of dogs responding not just to physical stimuli or external actions, but to the very essence of their owners' emotional states. The dogs' responses were not based on what their owners said or did, but on the invisible emotional energy they were emitting. The ability to sense emotional shifts in their owners is only the beginning. What Cayce envisioned in the second wave was not just an intuitive understanding of human emotions, but an actual telepathic link, an exchange of thoughts and feelings without any verbal communication. Many pet owners have reported that their dogs seem to know what they're thinking before they even speak. Whether it's a dog responding to a request before it's fully formed in the owner's mind, or a dog showing up at the door at the exact moment the owner decides to return home, the phenomenon is uncanny. It's as if there's a direct mental connection between the human and the dog, one that bypasses the need for spoken words. Take the story of Dave, a man from Oregon, who had a dog named Max. Dave had been working long hours at a demanding job and found himself mentally exhausted. One day, he found himself thinking, "I really need a break from work today. I could really use a walk outside." He hadn't spoken the thought aloud, nor had he made any move to take a break. But as soon as the thought crossed his mind, Max, who had been lounging on the couch, sprang to his feet and started running toward the door, wagging his tail excitedly. Dave was stunned. How did Max know? He hadn't said a word. And yet it was as though Max had somehow picked up on the desire for a walk before Dave had even made the decision to go outside. This type of behavior isn't just a fluke. It's part of a growing body of research and anecdotal evidence suggesting that dogs are able to tap into the unspoken thoughts and intentions of their owners. It's as if dogs are operating on a wavelength that allows them to understand not only human emotions, but also the deeper, unspoken desires and intentions that govern human behavior. This, according to Cayce, is the essence of telepathic communication, a silent exchange of thoughts and feelings that transcends the need for verbal language. But how exactly does this telepathic communication work? While scientists and researchers are still exploring the mechanisms behind this phenomenon, there are a few key theories that could help explain it. One possibility is that dogs are incredibly sensitive to changes in human energy fields, subtle shifts in emotion, intention, and thought that manifest as changes in the body's electromagnetic field. Dogs, with their highly attuned senses, may be able to pick up on these fluctuations and respond accordingly. Another possibility is that dogs have developed an advanced form of empathy, an ability to not only sense their owner's emotions, but to feel them on a deeper level. This heightened empathy could enable them to communicate telepathically with their owners, responding to their mental and emotional states without the need for words. Whatever the mechanism, the evidence suggests that we are witnessing the beginning of the second wave of canine evolution, as Cayce predicted. Dogs are becoming more than just pets. They're becoming conscious collaborators in the spiritual and emotional lives of their human companions. As telepathic communication between humans and dogs becomes more apparent, we are likely to see an even deeper connection emerge, one that transcends the physical and touches the spiritual. Cayce's vision of dogs as spiritual guides, telepathic companions, and healers is coming to life. And the more we pay attention, the clearer it becomes that these animals are waking up to their higher purpose. As the spiritual and metaphysical evolution of dogs continues to unfold, we now arrive at the most profound part of Edgar Cayce's prophecy, the third wave. This wave, which Cayce foresaw would manifest at a time when humanity faced the greatest challenges in its history, predicts a transformation in dogs that goes beyond intuitive detection and telepathic communication. According to Cayce, in the third wave, dogs would become energy cleansers, beings capable of neutralizing negative energies, healing emotional wounds, and facilitating spiritual healing simply through their presence. At first glance, this idea may seem outlandish, especially in the context of modern science, which tends to view animals primarily as biological entities rather than spiritual ones. However, as we've seen with the earlier waves of the prophecy, the first signs of this energy cleansing ability are already beginning to appear. Dogs, it seems, are not only responding to emotional shifts in their human companions, they're actively involved in healing and transforming the energy of their environments. The concept of energy cleansing itself is not new. For centuries, many spiritual traditions have recognized the importance of energy fields, subtle, invisible forces that surround living beings and affect their well-being. In practices like Reiki, Qigong, and other forms of energy healing, it is believed that the human body, mind, and spirit are interconnected by invisible energy channels, which have become blocked or imbalanced due to stress, trauma, or illness. Healers in these traditions often work to clear these blockages and restore balance, facilitating emotional and physical healing. What Cayce's third wave introduces, however, is the idea that dogs, those creatures so closely bonded to humanity, have the innate ability to perform this healing function. This shift may seem radical, but there are increasing reports and studies that suggest dogs are, indeed, becoming energy healers in ways that defy traditional understanding. More than simply offering emotional comfort, dogs are beginning to display behaviors that indicate they can sense and even absorb negative energies. The most remarkable part of this phenomenon is that dogs are doing this intuitively, without any formal training or guidance. It's as if they have become attuned to a higher frequency, allowing them to interact with energy fields in a way that we, as humans, have lost the ability to do. One of the most striking examples of this energy cleansing ability comes from a family in England who experienced profound changes after adopting a dog named Max. A German Shepherd had been rescued from shelter and had a rough start in life. But when he joined the Thompson family, something remarkable began to happen. The family had recently moved into a new house, and soon after settling in, they began to experience a series of unsettling events. Members of the family started having nightmares, feeling an overwhelming sense of unease and suffering from insomnia. It was as though the house itself was filled with negative energy, some sort of invisible weight that hung in the air. Max, however, seemed to respond to the situation in an unusual way. Every night, he would walk through the house, stopping at specific spots and standing still for several minutes, as though he were working on something invisible. Sometimes he would breathe deeply, and other times he would whine softly, as if sensing a presence. After several weeks of this behavior, the Thompsons decided to consult an energy specialist who confirmed that the house contained residual negative energies, particularly in the areas where Max had been standing. The energy expert suggested that Max was intuitively absorbing and transmuting these energies, acting as a sort of energy purifier. After a few weeks of Max's nightly rounds, the Thompsons noticed a remarkable change. The heavy, oppressive feeling that had once filled their home gradually disappeared. The family began sleeping better, and the nightmares stopped. It was as though Max had performed an invisible form of cleansing, transforming the energy of the house and bringing peace to its inhabitants. While this case may sound extraordinary, it is part of a growing number of reports of dogs demonstrating similar behaviors. There are numerous stories of dogs becoming highly attuned to negative energy and working to neutralize it. In some cases, dogs have been observed sitting or lying down in areas where people have experienced trauma or emotional distress, as if they are absorbing the heavy emotions that have been left behind. Other dogs have been known to walk around the home, sniffing and investigating certain areas, only to stop at spots where there seems to be a buildup of negative energy. These behaviors, once thought to be mere quirks, now seem to suggest a deeper, more purposeful role for dogs in the emotional and spiritual life of their owners. One particularly fascinating case involved a woman named Grace who had recently lost her husband. She was grieving deeply and found herself unable to shake the sadness that seemed to permeate her home. One day, as she sat on the couch, feeling overwhelmed with grief, her dog, Bella, came and sat beside her. But Bella didn't just sit quietly. She pressed her body against Grace's, as though she were offering comfort. As Grace continued to sit, crying, Bella began to nudge her hand gently, encouraging Grace to pet her. At first, Grace thought it was just a comforting gesture, but as she continued to stroke Bella, she began to feel a sense of calm wash over her. The heavy weight of grief seemed to lift slightly, as though Bella's presence was absorbing the sadness and transmuting it into peace. Grace later realized that Bella had a unique way of helping her process her emotions, something that went beyond simple companionship. It was as if Bella, in her quiet, unassuming way, was helping Grace to heal. In these cases and many others, we see the manifestation of what Cayce described as emotional alchemy, the ability of dogs to transform negative emotions into positive healing energy. Dogs seem to possess an innate ability to sense when their human companions are struggling, whether it's emotionally, spiritually, or energetically, and they instinctively respond by offering comfort and healing. It is as though they are tuned into a higher frequency, capable of perceiving and interacting with energy in a way that humans can no longer fully comprehend. The impact of these behaviors isn't limited to the home environment. Hospitals, wellness centers, and therapy practices around the world are beginning to recognize the unique role that dogs can play in healing environments. Certified therapy dogs are now commonly used in hospitals to provide emotional support for patients, but more and more, they're being recognized for their ability to sense the energies in a room and offer healing in subtle, transformative ways. In some hospitals, staff members have reported that therapy dogs seem to instinctively know which patients need their attention the most. These dogs bypass patients who are doing well, choosing instead to visit those in critical condition or those experiencing deep emotional distress. This phenomenon is also being observed in public spaces. There have been numerous accounts of dogs showing up at the right moment to offer comfort and healing to individuals who need it most. Whether it's a dog sitting quietly beside someone during a moment of crisis or offering a nudge of encouragement to someone in need, these animals are acting as silent healers, working their way into the emotional and spiritual landscapes of the humans they serve. As we enter the third wave of canine evolution, we begin to realize that dogs are far more than pets. They're spiritual partners, guides, and healers in the truest sense of the word. The ability to cleanse negative energy, offer emotional support, and facilitate healing is a gift that they have been honing for centuries, and it is becoming more apparent with each passing day. What Cayce predicted, that dogs would become energy cleansers and healers, is now manifesting before our eyes. Dogs are awakening to their true purpose, and as they do, they are helping to heal not only the hearts of their human companions, but also the very energy fields that surround us. As we stand on the brink of this extraordinary transformation, it's impossible to ignore the signs that Edgar Cayce so vividly predicted more than 80 years ago. His vision of dogs evolving spiritually, awakening to their higher purpose, and acting as conscious collaborators in the human journey is unfolding in real time. The question is no longer whether this prophecy will come true. It's happening right now. If you've ever felt that your dog was more than just a pet, more than just a loyal companion, you're not alone. The evidence of this awakening is all around us, in stories that seem too remarkable to be coincidence, yet too numerous to ignore. One of the most striking aspects of Cayce's prophecy was his clarity in predicting when the transformation would begin. He spoke of 3 distinct waves, each building upon the last. But what stands out is the timing he gave for the first signs of this transformation. Cayce described that the awakening would occur when humanity faced major global challenges: pandemics, climate change, technological disruptions, and spiritual awakenings. At the time of his readings, these seemed like distant events, far off and abstract. But today, as we grapple with the aftermath of global pandemics, unprecedented climate shifts, and rapid technological change, the very challenges Cayce foresaw are upon us. And with them, the dogs who were destined to play such a vital role are starting to awaken. Look around, and you'll see the subtle, yet unmistakable signs of this awakening. It begins with stories like that of Charlie, a golden retriever who began displaying behaviors that his owner, Emily, initially thought were simply quirky. Charlie had always been an affectionate dog, but something shifted. He started getting unusually protective, refusing to leave Emily's side when she was going through particularly stressful moments. One day, Emily was preparing for a major career change, something that weighed heavily on her heart. As she sat in her room, contemplating the change, Charlie jumped on her bed and placed his head gently on her lap. Emily, overwhelmed with emotions, began to cry. She was surprised to find that Charlie didn't just sit there, passively watching. He seemed to understand her pain and was offering comfort in a way that felt almost instinctual. Charlie didn't bark, didn't jump around. He simply rested his head on her, offering warmth and a sense of peace during a turbulent time. Over time, Emily started to see that Charlie's behavior was not random. He was somehow responding to her emotions in a way that went beyond what typical pets might do. It was as though Charlie could sense the exact moments when she was in emotional distress, and his presence became a stabilizing force. Emily's realization wasn't just a fleeting thought. It was the dawning understanding that her dog was attuned to her on a far deeper level. It wasn't just companionship. It was an active, spiritual connection. Cayce's words were coming to life. Dogs were becoming more than just pets. They were becoming partners, conscious guides in human emotional and spiritual growth. But this is only one story among thousands. There are countless others of dogs responding to their owners' unspoken needs, offering comfort, and even acting as sentinels of emotional and spiritual well-being. Across the world, more and more dog owners are beginning to notice subtle but powerful changes in their pets. These animals are no longer simply reacting to their environment. They're actively engaging with it, responding in ways that go beyond instinct and seem to come from a deeper, more intuitive place. Consider the story of Lucy, a rescue dog, who found herself in a shelter in Ohio. Lucy had been through an unimaginable amount of trauma, abandoned on the streets, neglected, and scarred by her past. But when a woman named Kate visited the shelter, something extraordinary happened. Kate had recently gone through a difficult divorce, and she was struggling to find peace. When she entered the shelter, Lucy immediately approached her, locking eyes with her in a way that felt almost familiar. It wasn't the usual excitement that dogs display when they meet a potential adopter. Instead, Lucy seemed calm, composed, and completely attuned to Kate's presence. As Kate sat down to meet her, Lucy laid her head gently on her lap and let out a soft sigh. In that moment, Kate felt an overwhelming sense of peace that she hadn't experienced in months. It was as though Lucy had recognized Kate's pain, and in her quiet, compassionate way, she was offering solace. The bond that formed between them was instant, and Kate adopted Lucy that very day. Over the following months, Kate would come to realize that Lucy was much more than a companion. She was a healer. Kate would experience days of intense emotional turmoil, and on each of those days, Lucy would intuitively know when she needed her the most. Without a word being spoken, Lucy would sit by Kate's side, her presence a quiet, soothing force that helped her navigate her grief. These types of experiences are becoming more common as dogs around the world are showing their extraordinary abilities to sense, respond, and heal. It's not just the emotional support they offer, it's the sense that these animals are tapping into something far greater. Many dog owners have reported instances where their dogs seem to know when something important is about to happen, whether it's a family member arriving home, a change in the weather, or an emotional shift in their human companions. In some cases, dogs have even been reported to act as emotional barometers for entire households, sensing the collective energy in a room and responding accordingly. But it's not just emotional healing that dogs are providing. As Cayce predicted, dogs are becoming energy cleansers, neutralizing negative energies in their environments. Stories have emerged from hospitals, homes, and even workplaces where dogs have been observed acting as healers in more profound ways. In one instance, a therapy dog named Buddy was brought into a hospital room where a patient was recovering from surgery. The patient, a middle-aged woman named Anne, had been struggling with anxiety and was having difficulty calming down after the procedure. As soon as Buddy entered the room, he approached Anne's bed and sat quietly beside her, placing his head on her leg. Within moments, Anne began to feel a wave of calm wash over her. It wasn't just the presence of the dog. It was as though Buddy was absorbing her stress, transforming it into peace. Within an hour, Anne's anxiety had dissipated, and she reported feeling more relaxed than she had in days. In another case, a family in Texas had been struggling with the aftermath of a traumatic event, an accidental death in the family. Their dog, a small terrier named Daisy, began displaying odd behavior. Daisy would walk through the house, stopping in specific spots where the family had experienced emotional pain. At first, the family thought Daisy's actions were random, but as time went on, they realized that Daisy was helping them heal. She seemed to know exactly where the most intense emotional energy was stored in the house, and she would linger in those areas, offering a quiet form of healing. The family members found that after Daisy's rounds, they felt a sense of relief, almost as though the emotional weight had been lifted. These accounts are not just isolated incidents. They are part of a larger, ongoing shift in the role dogs are playing in the world. As we continue to navigate the challenges of the 21st century, climate change, political unrest, and the ongoing spiritual awakening, dogs are stepping into a greater, more profound role. They are not just companions. They are guides, healers, and energy workers. As Cayce predicted, these animals are awakening to their true purpose at a time when humanity is in desperate need of healing, support, and unconditional love. The most fascinating part of this awakening is that it is not limited to a select few dogs. Cayce predicted that dogs from all walks of life, whether purebred, mixed breed, or rescue, will be affected by this spiritual transformation. It is as if these animals have been preparing for this moment for centuries. And now that the time has come, they are answering the call. We are witnessing the emergence of a new era for dogs, one where their roles in our lives are being redefined. The question is no longer whether these transformations are happening. It's how we will recognize and embrace them. As we move into the future, We must remain open to the idea that our dogs may have much more to offer us than we ever imagined. And as we do, we can begin to see them not just as pets, but as conscious collaborators in the spiritual evolution of humanity. As we've journeyed through Edgar Cayce's extraordinary prophecy, it becomes clear that the transformation of dogs is not just some far-off dream. It's a reality unfolding before us. From their ability to detect diseases to the telepathic bonds they share with their human companions and the energy-cleansing roles they are stepping into, it's undeniable that our four-legged friends are awakening to their true spiritual purpose. Cayce's vision of dogs as conscious collaborators in the elevation of human consciousness is not just a metaphor. It is becoming a living, breathing truth. The signs are all around us, if we are willing to see them. Dogs are no longer just pets. They're becoming spiritual partners, guides, and healers, attuned to the subtle energies of the world in ways we are only beginning to understand. As humanity faces its greatest challenges, from global crises to personal struggles, our canine companions are stepping into the role they were always meant to play, bridging the gap between the physical and spiritual realms, offering healing, comfort, and unconditional love. This awakening of the canine spirit is a reminder of how deeply interconnected we all are, humans, animals, and the earth itself. In embracing this shift, we not only honor the spiritual evolution of dogs, but we also begin to unlock a deeper understanding of ourselves and our place in the world. The prophecy that Cayce foresaw, the awakening of dogs as spiritual guardians, is happening right now. And if we pay attention, we will find that our dogs are guiding us to a new era of consciousness. As we move forward, let us keep our hearts open to the mysteries that are unfolding in our lives, and remember that our dogs are more than just companions. They are here to help us heal, to guide us, and to remind us of the unconditional love that connects us all.